So no, stop. You don't know anything about these January 6 cases. You don't know why these people are in jail. You don't know that a man is in Brooklyn right now for 3 years without charge or trial. And when Donald Trump says these people have been held for too long, you say, no, Trump is wrong. Keep them locked up. That's fascist. Dude, you've been sitting here with no knowledge of the specifics of some of these cases. There is a man in Brooklyn right now. I'm going to say it again. No charges whatsoever brought. And he's been in jail for 3 fucking years. For you to sit there and say it is good that he remains locked up is fascism. That is saying the hierarchical system of the courts and the government is just, and the process is all that matters. And I am saying perhaps 3 years is enough because I actually have moral logic and an understanding of these cases. Hence, my position on January 6th has always been the people who have attacked police must go to prison. But 3 years is a long time for assault on an officer. We have seen people on the far left, notably when they were firebombing all across Minnesota, 33 people murdered. And how many criminal charges do we get for this?
All right, you guys, we are currently coming to you live from Turning Point USA's America Fest 2024. We are here on Media Row. Got a lot of good interviews today. Those will be out soon. But in today's video, I want to talk about the exchange that's going viral right now that occurred on TimCast IRL last night, where they brought on one of those, Democrat kids, the Harry Sisson style influencer. But this kid goes by the name of Luke Beasley, and he tried to get into it with Tim Pool on January 6th, and this whole idea of Trump pardoning some of the people who were there peacefully that day. Trump's long made the argument they were treated unfairly by the justice system, and it's very interesting. I thought this exchange was so telling because it showed you the way that these Democrats really think. Okay, they sit here and posture all they want about the rule of law and actually, justice and nobody's above the law. But when you really break it down, the core of Luke Beasley's argument, once Tim Pool exposes it, is that the people on J6, it doesn't matter if they committed a crime. It doesn't matter if they actually really broke the law or was petty or something like that. Simply, they should be in jail for a very long time for the only reason that they are a Trump supporter. And guys, it's a long video, so let's just get right into it. Here was Tim Pool versus Luke Beasley last night.
The month that they should get. I do respect the fact that they were prosecuted in a court of law. And I don't think Trump, to send a message to his base that what happened on January 6th was good, which is why he would do such a pardon, should be pardoning folks who were violent. Or
I think 3 years is long enough.
Yeah, and that's a wrong stance, but okay.
How is it wrong?
I just explained it to you.
No. You didn't. You said the court process should play out the way it is. My opinion on the amount of time should be served for a crime is not just wrong because you like courts.
No, I get that.
You need to explain why the time frame I'm asserting should be longer than 3 years.
No, I'm saying the default, you have to have overwhelming, compelling evidence that someone has been wronged to justify a president stepping in and saying, I'm subverting the justice system outcome.
Hunter Biden, then, where was the overwhelming evidence that he got wronged? I mean, after all, you have the judge that Joe Biden pardoned who was literally throwing kids in juvenile hall for, he's taking money to do it. You have communist Chinese spies. None of these people, there's like, they pardon whoever they want to pardon. That's the truth about presidential pardon. So, Luke already just no clue what he's talking about. But watch, it's going to get really good in a second. So stay tuned. By the way, folks, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Help us hit our goal of 400K subs by the end of the year. And all right, let's continue this.
Do you agree with that premise?
No.
That's immoral.
So you're making a fascist argument.
A fascist argument?
You are making the fascist argument that the hierarchical structure of government is just and should be upheld regardless.
Why? Okay, I'm not going to ask that. This is
right. And so the system we have is
I'm just not loving. And this is a way of celebrating violence that Trump is celebrating those as far as a pardon and in his rhetoric and in his national anthem thingy. People who attacked the Capitol. Why did they attack it? Because they believed lies about the election.
There's a variety of reasons why people were violent on January 6th. Largely that they believe the election was stolen.
Like, hey, that's bad. You don't have to keep going.
I've called for their arrest and prosecution. Like this is not a shock to my audience.
My reporting is responsible for the arrest of a couple of January 6th
My point is that if you've got somebody on a misdemeanor charge who's been held without trial, a pardon makes perfect sense. Unless you're a fascist. and the system is just. So it's like Benjamin Franklin, who said it is better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. You've taken the Otto von Bismarck approach of it is better that 10 innocent people suffer than one guilty person escape.
No.
Yeah. Well, okay, you have.
No,
right.
I
So
haven't.
Look at his face.
You don't know.
He looks completely clueless right now. Out of his league, buddy. But again, I want to reiterate here, that kind of boils down to the core of their argument. They don't care about the facts. They don't care if so-and-so on J6 actually did anything wrong. They've been treated fairly by the justice system. No, you question the election. You disagreed with the results of 2020. Throw you in jail for the rest of your life. That's why Tim Pool is right. You know, he says, oh, fascist or whatever. But that is the way these people think. Okay, it is highly authoritarian. They don't care. And I am so glad, honestly, on some levels, that Joe Biden did pardon Hunter Biden, because it showed to the rest of the world that all of those arguments of moral high ground that have been made by Democrats for so many years are completely full of crap. And now you see right here, Luke Beasley completely falling apart, and it's about to get better.
Anything about these January 6 cases, you don't know why these people are in jail. You don't know that a man is in Brooklyn right now for 3 years without charge or trial. And when Donald Trump says these people have been held for too long, you say, no, Trump is wrong. Keep them locked up. That's fascist. Dude, you've been sitting here with no knowledge of the specifics of some of these cases. There is a man in Brooklyn right now. I'm going to say it again. No charges whatsoever brought. And he's been in jail for 3 years. For you to sit there and say it is good that he remains locked up is fascism. That is saying the hierarchical system of the courts and the government is just, and the process is all that matters. And I am saying perhaps 3 years is enough, because I actually have moral logic and an understanding of these cases. Hence, my position on January 6th has always been the people who have attacked police must go to prison. But 3 years is a time for assault on an officer. We have seen people on the far left, notably when they were firebombing shit all across Minnesota, 33 people murdered. And how many criminal charges do we get for this? When they firebombed a police station and forced the police to evacuate. On May 29th, 2020, when thousands of far leftists firebombed the White House grounds and set fire to St. John's Church and injured 100 police officers, how many people went to prison for 3 years? How many of them who never showed up on that day are in prison for 20 years? Enrique Tarrio wasn't even in DC on January 6th. And you are saying that man who his only crime was, quote, don't leave. That's his only crime. You think he should be in prison for 20 years because you're a fascist. You don't care what the facts are.
Absolutely. Look at his face. By the way, I'd like to also point out, the first people that Tim Pool was talking about, we're talking about the BLM rioters. Let's also not forget the fact that Kamala Harris, while she was the candidate for VP, okay, let's not forget it, Joe Biden's VP, promoted the Minnesota Freedom Fund to bail out these very people. Okay, so Luke in the beginning is like, oh, well, the president or, nobody should be stepping in and trying to help anyone unless there's overwhelming evidence, as if, again, Hunter Biden was not pardoned. And by the way, Kamala Harris, again, was donating to legal funds and bailing people out of prison who were burning down police stations, assaulting police officers, etc., etc. That's why the entire thing rings so ridiculously hollow. But again, look at his face.
Don't care if this is unjust. You only care that the machine state has decreed you are not to be locked up. And this is the problem I have with the left. They don't know the facts. They don't care about the facts. They view morality as a blanket government stroke of the pen. And every person, regardless of their crime, should be in prison for decades. I reject it outright. The people who fought cops should go to prison. They did. It's been 3 years. But when you've got people who are on misdemeanor charges for having walked into a building at 4 p.m. after the riot, and I know some of these people, they walked into a building for 2 minutes and walked out, and they got 18 months for that. I don't see you defending the innocent people who walked onto a public grass at a public building after a riot had been completed. You don't know. You don't care. You have taken a tribal position and people are suffering because of it. Now you say that Donald Trump saying the injustice that we've seen warrants commutation or pardons. You say that means he's advocating for violence. This is the ultimate problem. Then you cite a press release from Maryland saying, but the right's more violent. There is a distinction between a white supremacist as a right-wing group and a run-of-the-mill Christian conservative who showed up on that day not to protest. Let's talk about Brandon Strzok. He never went in the building. He was on the other side of the building. There was a permitted protest. He walked up the stairs and he was yelling. They put this guy in prison There is Owen Schroyer, who was at a permanent rally, who was yelling death to communists. They put him in prison and specifically cited his speech. My dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's fine. I get it. We try to be polite. We try to be nice. But there are so many young liberals who say,
no, he came in there so unbelievably smug. And yeah, as you're seeing, look at his freaking face. He has nothing to say. This kid has no clue what he's talking about. But again, I think the most telling part is, yeah, they don't care, right? They don't care if you're guilty. They don't care what you really did because you supported Trump, because you thought the 2020 election was this or whatever, or you didn't want to take the COVID vaccine or whatever. That's how they believe you should be treated because you're not on their side. But by the way, let's lecture for 4 years about the importance of respecting our democratic norms and civility and all this nonsense. It is ridiculous.
Here and say, the corporate press told me that these people are bad and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they committed. I don't care what the jury said. I don't care who was on the jury. Enrique Tarrio, who was not there, should be in prison for 2 decades. Tell me this now. Why is Enrique Tarrio in prison?
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the government.
Enrique Tarrio?
Yeah, and his organization.
What plot? Who's they? Give me some
prosecutors.
Give me some data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. All you know is the fascist machine state told you he should be in prison, and you're saying yes to them. Tell me why.
No, I understand that laws on the books have been there for a long time that I agree with, that if it's proven that you had a plan.
Yeah, he's lost, guys. He's just totally lost. He has no clue what to do. He's no clue what to say. Okay, there's a reason he didn't interrupt that conversation to begin with. Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
The proof?
Say the proof.
By prosecutors.
Say it.
Communications between.
What communications? What did he say? What did he do?
Is this serious?
Are you going to tell me why you think Enrique Tarrio should be in prison for 20 years? Or are you going to say the government decreed it?
I just explained to you.
So the government said so. Is that it?
Yeah, so anyways, there you have it. He has no clue what he's talking about, And we could dunk on him for it. Props to Tim Pool for doing so, okay, as you will so often find. They don't know. But again, I think the most telling aspect of that entire conversation was the fact that he just doesn't care. Deep down, none of these Democrats care, okay? And that's honestly a big reason why I'm so glad, among other things like, inflation, border, but why we won the 2024 election. Because I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I think if you were a conservative in America, if you were someone who, was with Donald Trump, especially from the beginning, looking at the way that this administration handled a lot of the things that went down, in following J6 and all of that, okay? And listening to the rhetoric of these people, Kamala Harris ran this campaign where she was claiming that, it's all about joy and unity, and I'm actually a sensible moderate. Yeah, totally forget the fact that I've been one of the most radical liberal United States senators for years. Totally forget the campaign I ran in 2020. But guys, you have nothing to fear. The Democrats aren't so scary anymore. Look, we have folksy white guy Tim Walz. Look, we're waving the American flag, etc., etc., etc. This is how they really think, okay? So I'm glad we won. I'm glad these people lost because they're deranged. They're insane. They can have this veil of credibility. Oh, we like democracy. Oh, we're journalists. Oh, we have the facts. Misinformation. We fight that. Nonsense. Okay. And I think that's, among other things, what this clip so brilliantly exposes. But with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.